Nothing is more terrifying than a monster with a plan. Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 horror villain masterminds. For this list, we'll be looking at horror movie villains who have a master plan and are always one step ahead of everyone else. We'll be focusing on horror movies exclusively, so thriller villains like John Doe from Seven will not be included. And just so you can't say that we didn't warn you, spoiler alert.
But the time for trickery is past. In this game, we show ourselves as we really are.
Number 10. Adrian Griffin, the Invisible Man. Not only does this scientist have the brains to invent a fully functioning invisibility suit, he's also extremely skilled at manipulating people.
What did he do to you? Can you talk to me?
After his partner Cecilia Cass tries to escape from his abusive behavior, Griffin devises a diabolical plan that involves faking his own suicide and leaving her a huge amount of money, all for the purpose of making her life a living hell.
Don't hit a little girl! Hit me!
As the Invisible Man, he torments Cecilia to the point of near insanity while alienating her from all her friends and loved ones. By giving Griffin similarities with real-life abusers, horror master Lee Whannell endows the classic H.G. Wells character with a whole new meaning that's more relevant than ever in the #MeToo era.
I know that you feel like you're going insane sometimes, but I'm the only one who can help you.
Number 9. Norman Bates, Psycho. Sometimes the best way to fool the world is to believe your own lie. At first glance, Norman Bates seems like the most harmless guy in the universe. He's polite, soft-spoken, and awkward around women.
And over there.
The bathroom.
Yeah.
But beneath his non-threatening exterior lurks a dangerous individual with a severe case of mommy issues. When Marion gets stabbed to death at the Bates Motel, we're led to believe that it's the work of Norman's overly possessive mother.
I don't hate her. I hate what she's become. I hate the illness.
Only later do we learn this mother is none other than an alternative personality created by Norman's troubled mind. Hardly anyone could have suspected this timid motel owner to be capable of such brutal murders, least of all himself.
They'll see, and they'll know, and they'll say, why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
Number 8. Damien Thorn, the Omen franchise. Don't be fooled by that adorable smile. This sweet-faced little boy is none other than the Antichrist, the son of the devil, whose ascension to power was carefully planned out over thousands of years.
Your son, Mr. Thorn. The son of the devil.
From childhood, Damien uses his subconscious powers to anticipate all potential threats to himself and eliminate his enemies in mysterious freak accidents. Meanwhile, his childish appearance and angelic smile ensure that no one around him suspects the truth, until it's too late. After becoming a powerful businessman and politician, Damien masterfully uses his army of satanic followers to get ever closer to his ultimate goal, preventing the second coming of Christ. Evil has never been so patient and so calculating.
How? That's what our people are for.
Number 7. Isaac Chroner, Children of the Corn.
A dream did come to me in the night, and the Lord did show all this to me.
Isaac may not be the son of Satan, but one could argue that he's just as cunning and devious. Not only does he brainwash the children of Gatlin into joining his religious cult, he persuades them to butcher all the adults in town, including their own parents, in order to get a better corn harvest. Using his eerie eloquence and charisma, this 12-year-old preacher establishes himself as the town's de facto spiritual leader.
A time of tribulation has come. A test is at hand. The final test.
And despite being obviously not quite right in the head, he's astute enough to spare the life of one elderly mechanic, the last adult in Gatlin, in exchange for fuel. Bloodthirsty corn deities aside, Isaac Chroner reminds us that few things are as scary as master manipulators and mob mentality.
Go you and bring me the husband. You must offer them tonight when Amos leaves.
Number 6. Annie Wilkes, Misery. Annie Wilkes seems like an average, lonely spinster, but as her behavior gets increasingly disturbing, it becomes clear that her true self is something much more shrewd and sinister.
There! Look there! See what you made me do?
Her kindness towards her favorite novelist, whom she saves from a car crash, is nothing more than a twisted ruse to force him to finish a book she wants him to write. She sedates him with painkillers and makes sure he has no way to contact the outside world, all while pretending to nurse him back to health.
You murdered my misery!
Annie!
Annie's character becomes even more chilling when we learn that she's killed several infants at the hospital where she worked as a nurse, and managed to walk off scot-free. Lesson learned: beware of toxic fans.
And you better hope nothing happens to me. Because if I die, you die.
Number 5. The Armitage Family. Get Out. When Chris goes on a weekend trip with his girlfriend Rose to meet her very white family, he expects there to be a few awkward moments. What he doesn't realize is that he'll have to fight for his life against 3 generations of terrifyingly cunning body snatchers.
My mother loved her kitchen, so we keep a piece of her in here.
Behind their facade of suburban hospitality, the Armitages are part of a secret cult that lures black people in their homes, only to implant their own consciousness into their bodies. Film director Jordan Peele seems particularly fond of evil doppelgangers, as manifested again a few years later in his second feature-length, Us.
Is there someone outside?
It's just a family standing outside. It's probably the neighbors.
Number 4. Pinhead, Hellraiser franchise. Only an intellectual and incredibly perverse villain would use a puzzle box to trick his victims into summoning him.
You will help to fulfill its promise.
In a decade when many horror films featured mindless brutes like Jason Voorhees and Mike Myers, Pinhead stood out by being the opposite. A stoic villain with a brilliant mind, less intent on killing people, and more interested in subjecting them to an eternity of pain. As a leader of the Cenobites, he uses human fears and desires to his advantage, coercing them into serving him before he eventually drags them to hell.
We'll tear your soul apart.
While Pinhead makes deals with people, he's not known for his fair play, and with his eons worth of experience in torture, those who fall into his traps are royally and utterly screwed.
I am pain.
Number 3. Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. Successful businessman by day and bloodthirsty serial killer by night, Patrick Bateman is the classic example of what's commonly known as a psychopath. The horrific violence of his killing sprees is matched only by his uncanny ability to hide behind a handsome, suave, and charming persona.
I feel lethal, on the verge of frenzy. I think my mask of sanity is about to slip.
An astute observer of his surroundings, Bateman takes advantage of his colleagues' self-centeredness and his own anonymity in the workplace to elude all suspicion. The police never come close to catching him, which eventually prompts him to break down and confess to his crimes during a psychotic fit.
I just had to kill a lot of people!
Even though the movie's twist ending implies that he may have hallucinated the murders, it's still unnerving to see how easily he hides his bloodthirsty fantasies in public.
I killed Paul Allen. And I liked it.
Number 2. Hannibal Lecter, Hannibal Lecter franchise. Whether he's hosting a lavish dinner party or stuck behind bars in an FBI prison, this infamous serial killer always seems fully in control of the situation. As a former psychiatrist, he makes good use of his in-depth knowledge of the human mind. When Clarice Starling asks him for help with the case of Buffalo Bill, he paints her a frighteningly accurate profile of the man, but only after toying with her deepest, darkest insecurities.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Hannibal's bloodlust is carefully concealed behind a cool, calculating exterior, which allows him to carry out the grisliest of murders without batting an eye.
In a moment, you'll begin to be lightheaded, then drowsy. Don't resist.
The combination of genius-level intellect with a monstrous appetite for human flesh easily makes him one of the most dangerous villains in horror history.
Hey, Cordell, why didn't you push him in? You can always say it was me.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. John Kramer, Saw franchise. If you look up Puppet Master in the dictionary, you'll probably find a picture of John Kramer, aka the Jigsaw Killer.
Game over.
This former civil engineer has one simple and seemingly admirable goal: to make people cherish the gift of life. It just so happens that this involves putting them through physical and psychological hell with the help of some gruesome death traps. For someone who ludicrously insists he's not a murderer, Jigsaw seems to derive great pleasure from finding ingenious ways to torture his victims.
There will be blood.
But his most chilling trait by far is his ability to turn the few survivors of his games into loyal followers, thus ensuring that his devious plans are carried out for years after his own death.
When the time's right, you'll know what to do.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.